Today I'm going to go over everything you need to know about caring for a baby orphan squirrel. So the very first thing you're going to do whenever you get the squirrel is see if it's dehydrated. Now to find out if the squirrel's dehydrated, you can pinch his back up, and if the skin stays wrinkled and it doesn't expand back out, that means the squirrel is dehydrated. Then you need to get some Pedialyte. The best kind of Pedialyte you can get is the non-flavored if you can find it. So after you get the squirrel hydrated, you can give them the milk before they're hydrated, but they're not going to be able to take it. It might kill them. But after they're hydrated, you want to get them some milk. Now, you don't want to buy pre-mixed milk. This is Asbolic puppy formula, and that's powder formula. This is the best stuff that you can get to feed baby squirrels. Now I'm going to show you the mixing ratio for this. It's not the same as what's on the back of it. But you need to determine the size of the squirrel and how old it is before you feed it, because how much you feed it depends on how old it is. So this squirrel right here is about 3 weeks old because it's furry all over and his eyes didn't open. Their eyes open at about 4 weeks. So he's got fur all over him. At about 2 weeks, they start to get fur on them, so they'll be a little bit furry. But at about 3 weeks, they're full of fur. They got their bottom teeth, their incisors are coming in. All right, so I'm gonna link a chart and a link to another website down below that's gonna tell you how to judge how old the squirrels are. Now, if the squirrels don't have fur on them yet, you're gonna need to keep them on some kind of external heating source. So the best thing to do is get you like a box or like a little cooler or something, and then you can put a heating pad under it, but only halfway under it. That way, if the babies get too hot on top of the heating pad, they can crawl off of it. Whenever you're storing the babies, you want to keep something in there that they can get in. You see, I got a towel in here. I got these in a little hoodie right here. You want to keep something warm that they can get in, especially if they don't have any fur on them. If they don't have any fur on them, you definitely want to keep them warm, or they'll wind up dying. But once they start to get fur on them, you don't have to keep them on an external heating source. You can just put them in something like this or a towel and keep them in a container. You want to keep it in something with high sides so they can't crawl out, because a lot of times that's how they get away from their nest. They crawl out of the nest whenever they start to open their eyes. They fall out, a cat gets them, a bird gets them. Now the feeding ratio is going to be based off the size of the squirrel. Once again, the link below will give you all the details to everything you need to know for the different sizes. But we're going to be showing you today how to feed one that is this size. I don't have one of every size. Now I have raised probably about 50 of these things. People bring them to me every year whenever they fall out the trees, the cats get a hold of them, there's storms. I have a bunch of people know that I have taken care of them before and I know how to take care of them, and they're always bringing them to me, so I've raised a lot of these things. They don't really make good pets. Once they start to get mature, they want to go find a mate. They get kind of rough with you, they'll bite you. I've had them bite through my finger. Most of the time when they start to mature, you need to let them go. Alright, now you want to mix enough milk to feed the babies for at least 2 or 3 days. Depending on what size the babies are and how many you're feeding, depends on how much formula you want to mix together. For me, I've got 4 of them, so I'm going to fill this up about halfway. That's going to last about 2 days. So you want your mixing ratio to be 1 part powder to 2 parts water. Well, you want to get the water hot, almost to a boiling point. So what I'm going to do, this is a ½ cup. I'm going to be using a 1/4 cup of powder. So we're going to go ahead and put a ½ cup of water in here. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to warm it up. I'm going to watch it until it starts boiling. Put it in here for like 30 seconds. Then once it starts boiling, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to take it out. You don't want the water really past boiling, because if the water is past boiling when you're going to mix the powder together, it's going to boil all the nutrients out of the formula that the baby squirrels need. So now that we have our hot water, we're going to dump about half of this powder into the cup here. Alright, and then we are going to put a little bit of water in here. Now it's going to be lumpy. Mix it together best you can. Then put the rest of the powder in there. The rest of the water. Still going to be lumpy. Hey buddy, I know you're hungry. I know you're hungry, buddy. You're just crawling around everywhere. So you can see here, it's really lumpy in there. You don't want it to be lumpy like that. So what you want to do is get you a strainer, get another container to pour it into. Take your cup, dump it through the strainer here. You're going to have to push that stuff through the strainer. Now what it's going to do is all build up on the bottom there. So that's okay, you just wipe it off. Now the reason it's important to get all this powder, you see all that stuff that's not mixing in the water, all that's the nutrients the baby needs that makes the milk thicker. So if you don't get all this stuff in there and the milk is really thin, those babies are going to have diarrhea and they might wind up getting sick and dying on you. Now you got on the side of the milk container here. You just scoop it down there and mix it in. Now you really want to take this and let it set, let it cool down, let it sit in the refrigerator for a couple hours. Give that formula time to mix together well. But we're going to take the milk, put it in the refrigerator, and we're going to let it cool off. Set it in there, let it cool down. Now when you store your milk in the refrigerator, you want to put it in something in the top on it. This is just a small baby container. If you just have one squirrel, this will be fine. You can just put the milk in here. It's got a little lid on it, a little screw lid. Of course, if you have 4 squirrels like I do, you're going to need a bigger container. Put it in there to store it, and then whenever you're ready to feed them, you take it out and warm some up. So now that we have our milk cooled down, we don't want to warm this whole entire container up. You want the milk to be warm when you feed the babies. A lot of times if it's cold, they may not eat it anyway. If you keep warming all this milk up and cooling it down, you might spoil the milk. So we just want to warm up a little bit. We're going to take a shot glass here. We're going to pour just enough milk in there to feed these babies. We're going to put it in the microwave for probably about 3 seconds. That's really all it takes. 3 or 4 seconds. So we'll put it in there for 4 seconds. Alright, take it out. Now you want to do the test. You stick your finger in it, see how hot it is. If it's hot enough to burn your finger, if it's too hot, you need to let it cool down. But once it does cool down, it's just kind of warm. You'll get you a syringe. Now I picked this up from the local drugstore. Now it's really best if you can get a feed nipple to go on the end of these. You might be able to find those in the pet store. Depending on the size, once again, depends on how much you're going to feed them. The chart below will have all that information in it. But these being about 3 weeks old are going to eat anywhere from 4 to 5.5 cc's depending on how big the baby is. A good rule of thumb is you can watch their bellies. If you feed them kind of slow, you can see their bellies start to swell. Definitely don't want to overfeed them because they'll keep eating a lot of times. If they haven't eaten in a while, they'll eat too much and then it can wind up killing them if you overfeed them. Alright, now our milk has cooled down. It's probably about the same temperature as my finger now, which my body temperature is 98 degrees. Put about 4 cc's in here to start with. Now if these babies hadn't eaten in a while, whenever they eat, they're going to try to suck that milk down. If you're not careful, they can inhale the milk and you'll see it coming out their nose. If that happens, you want to stop and you want to clean it up with a wet paper towel. That's bad. You don't want that happening. If you don't have a feed nipple, that feed nipple is going to keep them from inhaling the milk. But this is just a syringe. So you don't want to let him get the whole entire syringe in his mouth like this. Because if you do, he can suck that milk out of the syringe and you'll see it coming back out his nose. You want to just kind of hold him firmly and you want to put barely the tip of it up to his mouth and press down on it very slowly. If you press too fast, it's going to push that milk down his throat and then that milk is going to come out his nose. They can get a respiratory infection. It can cause to a lot of other problems. But you want to make sure you feed it very slowly to keep that from happening. So you just press down on it. I like to hold my finger on the syringe right here and then press down on the back of it, because if you don't hold your finger on it and apply pressure on that syringe, a lot of times they can actually suck and they'll suck that syringe down, and then once again the milk will come out of their nose. It also helps if you hold them at a horizontal angle like this. If you hold it up like this, they're bad about getting the milk down in their lungs and coming out their nose too. Just take your time, feed them really slow. Alright, once you fed him enough, you just put him back in with his brothers. At this age, the babies can use the bathroom on their own. But before this age, before they start getting fur on, about 1 to 2 weeks, anything before that, you're going to have to promote them to use the bathroom. So really the best thing to do is get you a cotton ball. I don't have one right now. This is just a paper towel. So what you can do, you wet it with warm water, and you just tickle their genitals, and they will use the bathroom. Because what the mother does, their muscles have not developed yet for them to be able to use the bathroom on their own. So the mother actually licks their genitals to promote them going to the bathroom. Now that's very important if the babies are very small. If they're smaller and they don't have hair on them, it's very important to promote them to use the bathroom, or else that will cause them to die, because all the food will build up in them. You'll notice in the cage. You can see in the cage if they're using the bathroom or not. Whatever you have them in, you'll see pellets or you'll see diarrhea in there. If they're not using the bathroom, that's a sign for concern. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about taking care of a baby squirrel and feeding them. At this age, you want to feed them every 3 hours, probably about 6 times a day. And the older they get, the less you can feed them, and then you can start putting little wood blocks in there for to chew on, and once their eyes open, you can start weaning them off the milk. Once again, the link will be below on all of the details on how to do this stuff. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, drop a comment down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys later.